Imagine holding a coin in your hand that millions of Americans have seen, but almost no one has ever truly noticed. A coin so ordinary at first glance, yet hiding a story that could surprise even the most seasoned collectors. Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating pennies from recent U.S. history, the 1984 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. You might think it's just another copper coin, but what if I told you this humble penny could be worth far more than its face value? By the end of this video, you'll see why this coin captures the attention of collectors across the country. The 1984 Lincoln penny is part of a series that has been in circulation for decades, featuring the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back. In 1984, the United States was still producing pennies primarily for everyday use, but this particular coin has a story that makes it far more than just pocket change. The penny itself is small, simple, and instantly recognizable, yet there is something quietly intriguing about its production that collectors find irresistible. To understand why this coin exists, we need to go back to 1984. The U.S. Mint was producing billions of pennies each year, a staggering number when you consider that pennies were being used less and less in everyday transactions. This was a time when the economy was changing and metal prices were fluctuating. Most pennies were struck in either Philadelphia or Denver, with the mint mark indicating their origin. The Philadelphia coins, however, sometimes appeared without a mint mark at all. That lack of a mark might seem minor, almost invisible, but for coin collectors, it can make all the difference. The 1984 Lincoln penny has a classic design that few would question. On the obverse, Abraham Lincoln's profile dominates, detailed and dignified, a design first introduced in 1909 to commemorate his 100th birthday. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial is finely engraved, reflecting the architectural elegance of the monument in Washington, D.C. What sets this coin apart is not the image, but its composition. By 1982, the U.S. Mint had transitioned from nearly pure copper pennies to a copper-plated zinc alloy, and the 1984 penny is part of that newer composition. It contains just 2.5% copper, with zinc making up the rest. The metal may be different, but that does not diminish the coin's collectible intrigue. What really makes the 1984 penny fascinating to collectors is the no-mint mark variety. In 1984, most Philadelphia pennies still did not carry a mint mark, while Denver coins had the familiar D stamped on them. What makes the no-mint mark coins rare is not just the absence of the letter, but subtle differences in production quality and striking errors that occasionally appear. Some coins may have doubled dies, small off-center strikes, or slight variations in lettering. Each of these minor differences can turn an ordinary coin into a highly sought-after collectible. Collectors and numismatists pay attention to these details because they reveal the story of the coin's journey from the mint to your pocket. For example, certain 1984 no-mint mark pennies have been discovered with tiny doubling on Lincoln's shoulder or on the word Liberty, making them rare enough to fetch hundreds of dollars in the right market. It may seem incredible that a penny minted less than 40 years ago could command such interest, but the world of coin collecting is full of surprises like this. The coin's rarity is not absolute. It is about condition, error type, and the keen eye of a collector who spots it before anyone else. Real-life examples show just how valuable these pennies can be. At specialized coin auctions, high-grade 1984 no-mint mark pennies with exceptional preservation and minor striking anomalies have sold for hundreds, sometimes even more, depending on their condition and uniqueness. While the average penny from 1984 might be worth a few cents above face value, these rarities command attention because they are scarce, appealing, and part of a larger story about U.S. minting history. The thrill is in the hunt as much as in the price. Finding one in circulation can feel like discovering hidden treasure in your own pocket change. Identifying a real 1984 no-mint mark penny versus A counterfeit or altered coin requires careful observation. The coin should have the correct metallic composition, a smooth, natural strike, and consistent lettering. Some fakes are created by altering Denver coins to remove the mint mark, but trained collectors know to check for differences in edge finishing, die wear, and weight. A true 1984 no mint mark penny will feel right in your hand. And once you know what to look for, spotting the authentic version becomes an exciting challenge. There are also fascinating quirks about this penny that most people never notice. For instance, the zinc core of the coin reacts differently to environmental conditions than older copper pennies. Some coins develop a slight color shift, from bright copper to a pale reddish hue, which collectors find aesthetically interesting. Others may show tiny striations from the minting process, a hidden fingerprint of the machinery that struck millions of coins each year. These subtle details are part of what makes coin collecting both an art and a science. Collectors today love the 1984 no mint mark penny for several reasons. It represents a transitional period in U.S. minting history, bridging the old copper pennies and modern zinc-based ones. It is widely available enough that new collectors can find examples without traveling far, yet rare enough that special varieties can be genuinely valuable. It's also a coin with a story that connects the everyday to the extraordinary. Something as simple as a penny can become a window into history, economy, and craftsmanship. Owning one is a way to hold a small piece of American heritage in your hand. Even beyond the collector's market, there is a quiet fascination in the 1984 no mint mark penny. It prompts questions about how coins are made, why some coins become collectible, and what hidden value might be lying unnoticed in jars, drawers, and loose change. Every coin tells a story, and this penny story is about transition, rarity, and the thrill of discovery. So, the next time you glance at a small copper disc in your wallet or on a tabletop, ask yourself, could this ordinary coin be hiding a remarkable secret? In the end, the 1984 Lincoln penny with no mint mark is more than a piece of metal. It is a reminder that even in the most common objects, history and value can be found. It shows how patience, knowledge, and curiosity can turn something overlooked into a treasure. Collectors treasure it not just for its potential market value, but for the story it carries and the joy of the hunt. Whether you are a seasoned numismatist or simply a casual observer, this penny challenges you to look closer, think deeper, and perhaps to imagine what other hidden treasures are still waiting in plain sight. So the next time you handle a penny, take a moment to inspect it. Examine the details, look for the subtle signs, and wonder, could this tiny coin in your hand hold a secret that turns ordinary change into an extraordinary find? The story of the 1984 no mint mark Lincoln penny proves that sometimes history and value are hiding in the smallest places, waiting for someone curious enough to discover them. Imagine holding a small coin in your hand, one that seems ordinary at first glance, yet hides a story that could change the way you see everyday money. The 1978 Lincoln penny without a mint mark is one of those coins. On the surface, it looks just like any other penny from the late 1970s, but for collectors and coin enthusiasts, it represents a subtle but fascinating chapter in American coin history. A coin that quietly attracts attention, curiosity, and sometimes even serious money. This coin is a 1-cent piece, part of the iconic Lincoln cent series that began in 1909 to honor Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. The 1978 Lincoln penny is made primarily of copper, with a small amount of zinc, giving it the warm, familiar reddish-brown color we associate with older pennies. The obverse features a profile of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, a design that has endured for more than a century. The reverse, often called the Lincoln Memorial design, shows the memorial in Washington, D.C., a detail that became standard on pennies minted from 1959 through 2008. The story of the 1978 Lincoln penny begins in a post-Vietnam America, a period of economic change and a growing national focus on practical coinage. The U.S. Mint produced millions of these pennies that year, distributing them across the country. While the vast majority were everyday coins, handled and spent without a second thought, a small fraction became objects of interest to collectors because of subtle characteristics and production quirks. One of the most notable features of the 1978 penny is its absence of a mint mark. Unlike many coins that carry a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco, some 1978 pennies were released without any mint mark, which simply indicates they were minted in Philadelphia. At first, this might not seem remarkable, but for collectors, mint marks can make a world of difference. Coins without a mint mark from this era are often harder to track and verify, creating an element of rarity. Beyond the mint mark, the 1978 penny has several features that can capture a collector's attention. Its composition is 95% copper and 5% zinc, which was standard before the change to mostly zinc pennies in 1982. This composition gives the coin a slightly heavier feel compared to modern pennies. In terms of design, the obverse showcases Lincoln's thoughtful expression, while the reverse memorial engraving includes fine lines that can reveal minor variations during minting. Errors sometimes appear in these areas, whether as doubling of the date, minor scratches, or off-center strikes. While most pennies are flawless, those with errors can attract significant interest because they are unique examples of minting quirks that occurred over 40 years ago. So why does the 1978 no mint mark Lincoln penny hold value? First, it's a matter of rarity in circulation. Most pennies were quickly used and lost, making well-preserved examples increasingly uncommon. Condition plays a huge role. A coin that has avoided heavy wear, retains a full copper luster, and has sharp, clear details can command much higher prices than one that has spent decades in a pocket or jar. Collectors often look for coins graded highly by professional services, with perfect or near-perfect surfaces. In addition, the absence of a mint mark, while not unique in itself, adds a layer of distinction for those seeking a complete collection of Lincoln cents from every Philadelphia release. Real-world auction results illustrate this point. While a typical circulated 1978 penny may be worth just a few cents above face value, uncirculated coins can sell for several dollars. Coins with certified high grades from organizations like PCGS or NGC often reach prices of $10 to $50, depending on their condition and demand at the time. Error coins from this year have even fetched higher sums, sometimes hundreds of dollars, because collectors prize the unusual variations. Even small differences in strike quality, the depth of Lincoln's profile, or the clarity of the memorial lines can make a coin noteworthy. Identifying an authentic 1978 no mint mark penny is straightforward if you know what to look for. Genuine coins will have the weight and dimensions of a standard Lincoln cent, with the smooth, slightly reflective copper surface typical of Pennies 1,982 pennies. The obverse must show Lincoln's profile clearly, and the reverse must depict the Lincoln memorial with distinct lines and steps. Fakes or altered coins often exhibit incorrect weight, unusual coloring, or poorly defined details. For serious collectors, having a coin professionally graded or authenticated adds an extra layer of security and ensures that the coin is truly a valuable piece of history rather than a reproduction or counterfeit. There are some fun and surprising details about the 1978 Lincoln penny that make it more than just a small piece of metal. The Lincoln cent series itself is remarkable for being the first U.S. coin to feature a real person instead of a symbolic figure, and the 1978 penny continues that legacy. Its copper composition means that, even decades later, many of these pennies have kept their warm hue, in contrast to modern zinc pennies that corrode more easily. Some collectors enjoy hunting for subtle die variations, tiny scratches, or doubled dates that occurred by chance during the minting process, making each coin a little story in itself. Collectors love this coin today for a variety of reasons. Its historical context links it to a period of American life that feels both familiar and distant. It is accessible, since even moderately priced examples can be acquired by new collectors, yet still offers the potential for rarer, high-grade coins to become centerpiece items in a collection. The 1978 penny represents a bridge between everyday change and collectible art, a coin you can hold and feel the weight of history. Its simplicity, durability, and small quirks are reminders of the ongoing story of American coinage, a story that continues to capture the attention of both novice and seasoned collectors alike. Even more intriguing is that the coin sits quietly in pockets, drawers, and old coin rolls across the country, waiting to be discovered. Some 1978 no-mint mark pennies may be sitting unnoticed in jars on kitchen counters or in collections tucked away for decades, each with the potential to surprise its owner. It's a small coin, but in the world of collecting, size doesn't dictate significance. Rarity, history, and condition do. Every well-preserved penny tells a story, and for those who know what to look for, the 1978 Lincoln cent without a mint mark can be a doorway to a fascinating exploration of American money and the subtle twists that make some coins more valuable than others. So next time you come across an older penny, take a closer look. Examine the date, check for a mint mark, and notice the luster and detail. The 1978 Lincoln penny without a mint mark may look ordinary, but it carries history, subtle uniqueness, and a quiet allure that has drawn collectors for decades. Who knows, among the ordinary change in your pocket, the coin you overlook could be the one that holds a remarkable story or even a surprising value. It's a reminder that sometimes the most extraordinary treasures hide in plain sight, waiting for someone curious enough to notice. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that most people pass by every day, yet it could be worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars. One small piece of copper, minted over 50 years ago, has captured the fascination of collectors around the world. That coin is the 1970 mint mark Lincoln penny, and if you have one tucked away in a drawer, it could be far more valuable than you ever imagined. The 1970 Lincoln penny is part of a series that has been in circulation for more than a century, honoring the 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln. Unlike some coins that change design frequently, the Lincoln cent has remained largely consistent since its introduction in 1909, making variations and minting anomalies especially exciting for collectors. The D in its name simply refers to the Denver Mint, one of the United States mint facilities responsible for producing coins for circulation. But within that simple designation lies a story of history, craftsmanship, and sometimes extraordinary rarity. 1970 was a unique year for the Lincoln cent. The country was in the midst of social change. The moon landing had just occurred the year before, and Americans were still experiencing the aftermath of the 1960s. During this time, the U.S. Mint produced billions of pennies, most of them ordinary, destined to be used in everyday transactions. But within this massive production, small errors and unusual variations occurred, creating coins that today can be worth far more than their face value. The 1970 Lincoln penny was composed primarily of copper, with a small percentage of tin and zinc. It weighed just over 3 grams and measured 19 millimeters across. Its design is instantly recognizable. The obverse shows a solemn portrait of Abraham Lincoln, looking to the right, surrounded by the inscriptions "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the year 1970. On the reverse, the coin bears the familiar Lincoln Memorial, flanked by the words "United States of America" and 1 cent. Though this design might seem ordinary, small variations and rare mistakes make certain 1970 pennies highly sought after. Collectors often focus on three main areas when examining the 1970 penny. First is the strike quality. Some coins were struck with greater pressure, resulting in sharper details. Second is the condition, which can range from heavily circulated to virtually uncirculated. And third, and perhaps most exciting, are mint errors. One famous error in the 1970 series is the double die obverse, where the inscriptions on the coin, especially Liberty or the date itself, appear doubled due to a misalignment during the minting process. These double die pennies are exceedingly rare, and when authenticated, can fetch significant sums at auction. But even standard 1970 Lincoln pennies have their place in the collector's world. While most circulated examples are worth only a few cents, uncirculated coins in pristine condition can command prices far above their original face value. Collectors prize coins that show no wear, sharp details, and bright, original copper color. The rarity factor increases dramatically when the coin exhibits unique errors or unusual characteristics, making the hunt for these coins a thrilling endeavor. Real-world examples illustrate just how valuable these coins can be. In recent years, auction houses and online sales have shown that a 1970 Lincoln penny in mint condition can sell for anywhere from $50 to over $500, depending on its grade. If the coin features a rare double die, the price can skyrocket into the thousands. One well-documented example of a double die 1970 penny sold for more than $3,000, proving that even coins from what seems like a recent year can hold extraordinary value. Identifying a genuine 1970 Lincoln penny is simpler than many people think, though caution is always advised. First, examine the mint mark itself. The D should be small, clean, and clearly stamped just below the date. Look closely at the lettering and numbers for any signs of doubling or irregular spacing, which could indicate a double die or other mint error. The coin should also weigh around 3.11 grams and feel solid in the hand. Counterfeit coins exist, particularly for rarer varieties, so it's often wise to consult a professional coin dealer or grading service if you suspect you have a valuable piece. Beyond value, there are fascinating stories hidden in these small copper discs. For instance, during 1970, the U.S. Mint was transitioning to new technologies and updating its presses, which inadvertently led to a small number of minting anomalies. Some coins were struck on improperly prepared planchets, resulting in off-center designs or slightly irregular edges. Others show subtle differences in color due to variations in copper composition. Each coin, even the ordinary ones, tells a small story of the minting process and the era in which it was made. Collectors love the 1970 Lincoln penny for more than just its potential financial value. It represents a slice of American history, a tangible connection to the past. Holding one in your hand is a reminder of the years that have passed, the people who used these coins in their daily lives, and the meticulous craft of coin production. There is a sense of satisfaction in finding a coin that is rare or in exceptional condition, knowing that it has survived decades, perhaps even half a century, without losing its luster. The coin becomes more than just currency. It becomes a piece of history, a conversation starter, and sometimes an investment. Some fun facts about the 1970 penny make it even more intriguing. For example, while most Lincoln pennies from the 20th century were copper, there were a few experimental strikes produced in other metals, though these are extremely rare and usually held in private collections or museums. Additionally, certain circulation patterns have led to pennies with unusual toning, giving them a unique, almost artistic appearance. Collectors often seek out these quirks, appreciating the beauty that emerges from a coin's journey through time. Today, the 1970 Lincoln penny continues to capture the imagination of collectors. From casual hobbyists searching through rolls of change to seasoned numismatists examining auction catalogs, the coin has a special allure. It's accessible enough for beginners to appreciate, yet complex enough to reward the most meticulous collectors. Its combination of history, design, and rarity makes it a classic piece in any collection. The story of this penny is ongoing, with new finds occasionally appearing, reminding us that even ordinary coins from everyday life can hold extraordinary surprises. So the next time you glance at a handful of pennies, consider the 1970 D Lincoln penny. Among them might lie a coin that tells a story, a coin that has traveled through decades, a coin that could change a collector's life. Whether it sits quietly in a drawer or is carefully preserved in a collection, its value is more than monetary. It is a connection to history, a spark of curiosity, and a testament to the enduring fascination of one of America's most iconic coins. Who knows what secrets a single penny might hold? Imagine holding a coin in your hand that millions of Americans used every day, yet a rare few are worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars. One small copper disc, minted over 50 years ago, can turn an ordinary pocket change into a collector's treasure. Today, we're diving into one such coin that has fascinated collectors for decades, the 1968 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny. What makes this seemingly ordinary penny so special, and why do collectors hunt for it as if it were buried treasure? The 1968 D Lincoln penny is part of the long-running series of pennies that feature the familiar portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the front. Lincoln has graced the 1-cent coin since 1909, making this series one of the longest-running designs in U.S. coin history. The D on this penny stands for the Denver Mint, where this coin was produced. Though at first glance it may look like any other penny, history, subtle design details, and collector demand make this coin something that goes far beyond everyday currency. To understand the 1968 D penny, it helps to look at the context of its time. The late 1960s were a period of significant change in the United States. The Vietnam War was ongoing. Social movements were reshaping society, and the country's economy was experiencing fluctuations that affected everything from wages to the coins in our pockets. In the world of minting, the 1960s were notable for a transition in coin composition. Just a few years earlier, in 1965, the U.S. had removed silver from its dimes and quarters due to rising metal costs. Pennies were also affected by rising copper prices, though they remained largely copper-based for the time being. The 1968 D penny was struck with a composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc, maintaining the familiar reddish hue that collectors associate with classic Lincoln cents. The design itself is instantly recognizable. On the front, Abraham Lincoln's profile looks dignified and thoughtful, a tribute to the nation's 16th president and the man who led America through its greatest test, the Civil War. Surrounding his head are the words "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 1968. On the back, the Lincoln Memorial replaces the earlier wheat ears design, a change made in 1959 to celebrate Lincoln's 150th birthday. Tiny details, like the steps leading up to the memorial and the statue of Lincoln visible inside, distinguish the genuine coin from replicas. For numismatists, the intricate precision of these details makes each coin a miniature work of art. What sets the 1968 D penny apart, however, isn't just its design. It's the rarity and specific variations that have made collectors pay attention. One interesting factor is the minting errors that occasionally occurred at the Denver Mint. Some 1968 D pennies show double dies, meaning the date or lettering appears slightly doubled. Others may have slight off-center strikes or die cracks. While these errors might be subtle to the untrained eye, to collectors, they represent a limited edition within the edition, a coin that is both rare and historically significant. Even without errors, certain conditions of the 1968 D Lincoln penny make it valuable. Coins that are uncirculated, meaning they never pass through everyday transactions and show no wear, can fetch premium prices. The appeal of the 1968 D penny lies in its age, its condition, and its place in the story of Lincoln cents. Unlike common pennies tossed into jars or left in drawers, a high-grade 1968 D can attract serious attention from collectors looking to complete sets or acquire coins with historical significance. Auction results illustrate just how much these coins can be worth. A standard circulated 1968 D penny might only be worth a few cents over face value, but uncirculated examples, especially those with high grades from professional grading services, have sold for hundreds of dollars. Coins with notable errors like double dies can command prices well into the thousands. These figures show that even a coin that spent decades in someone's pocket or a dusty coin album can suddenly become a valuable collectible. For collectors and casual enthusiasts alike, identifying a genuine 1968 D penny is key. Start with the obvious. Look for the D mint mark below the date on the front of the coin. Examine the copper color and surface. Authentic coins should have consistent coloring and fine detail. Check for wear on the highest points of Lincoln's profile. Excessive wear might indicate circulation, which can lower value. For error coins, magnification helps to spot doubling or anomalies in the design. Fake or altered coins are rare, but as demand grows, the market can see attempts at counterfeits, so careful inspection and consulting trusted sources is always recommended. Some fun facts make this penny even more intriguing. The 1968 D Lincoln penny was part of a series that quietly reflected the economic and cultural shifts of its era. It was produced during a time when pennies were nearly all copper, something that would change just a few years later. The Lincoln Memorial on the reverse has tiny details that are often overlooked, including the small lines representing the columns and the delicate representation of the statue inside. For those who enjoy a little history, every penny tells a story not just of currency, but of the people, events, and economy of the time. Collectors love this coin today for a combination of nostalgia, history, and potential value. Many started collecting Lincoln cents as children, fascinated by the president's face and the familiar copper coin. Over time, coins like the 1968 D have become sought after for completing collections or for investment purposes. Its age makes it a tangible link to the past, a piece of history that can be held, examined, and appreciated. The thrill of finding a rare mint mark or a well-preserved coin adds an element of treasure hunting that keeps collectors engaged year after year. If you happen to come across a 1968 D Lincoln penny tucked in a jar, in a change bowl, or passed down from a family member, take a closer look. You might be holding more than just a simple coin. You could be holding a piece of history, a collector's item, or even a small fortune. The 1968 D Lincoln penny is a reminder that even the most common objects can hold hidden value when we take the time to notice the details, understand the story, and appreciate the journey from mint to pocket to collection. In the end, the 1968 D penny is more than copper and ink. It's a window into the past, a collector's challenge, and a quiet symbol of the fascinating world of coins. Next time you glance at a simple Lincoln cent, consider what secrets it might hold. Which coin, among all the pennies you've ever seen, could be worth far more than it seems? The answer might just be sitting in your pocket right now. Imagine finding a penny in your pocket that looks ordinary, but could secretly be worth hundreds, thousands, or even more. One small copper coin, minted during one of the most dramatic moments in American history, has become one of the most fascinating Lincoln cents ever made. Today, we're diving into the story of the 1944 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin that connects wartime America, everyday life, and unexpected collector value in one powerful piece of history. The 1944 no-mint mark Lincoln penny was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which traditionally did not use mint marks on coins at that time. That means if your 1944 penny doesn't have a D or an S under the date, It was made in Philadelphia. At first glance, it looks just like millions of other old pennies. Abraham Lincoln's familiar portrait face is right on the front, and the reverse shows two wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent. Simple, classic. But behind that simplicity is a story that makes this coin special. To understand this penny, we need to go back to the year 1944. The United States was deep into World War II. Nearly every part of daily life was affected, from rationing food and fuel to conserving metals needed for weapons and equipment. Copper, in particular, was considered a critical wartime material. In 1943, the U.S. Mint stopped making copper pennies entirely and instead produced coins made from zinc-coated steel. Those steel cents looked silver and felt strange in the hand, and many people disliked them. They rusted, stuck to magnets, and were often confused with dimes. By 1944, the war was still raging, but the mint found a creative solution. They decided to return to copper pennies, not from newly mined metal, but from recycled materials. The copper used for 1944 pennies came largely from melted-down shell casings and other wartime scrap. In other words, the pennies Americans carried in their pockets in 1944 were literally made from the metal of war, reshaped into everyday money. That alone gives the 1944 Lincoln penny a powerful historical meaning. The design of the 1944 penny stayed true to the Lincoln cent that had been in use since 1909. On the front, you see Abraham Lincoln, designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner. It was the first circulating U.S. coin to feature a real person, and by 1944, Americans were deeply familiar with Lincoln's calm, thoughtful profile. On the back, the wheat ears symbolize prosperity and agriculture, framing the words 1 cent and United States of America, with the motto E pluribus unum across the top. But what truly sets the 1944 penny apart is its metal. Most 1944 pennies are made of bronze, about 95% copper, with small amounts of tin and zinc. This marked a return to the traditional composition after the unusual steel cents of 1943. However, the story gets even more interesting when we look at mistakes that happened during this transition. In 1943, pennies were supposed to be made only of steel. In 1944, they were supposed to return to copper, but a few leftover steel blanks from 1943 somehow remained in the minting machines when production switched back to bronze. As a result, a tiny number of 1944 pennies were accidentally struck on steel planchets. These 1944 steel cents look silvery, stick to magnets, and are among the rarest and most valuable Lincoln pennies ever known. Some have sold for well over $100,000 at auction. On the flip side, a few 1943 pennies were accidentally struck on bronze blanks, creating the famous 1943 copper penny, one of the most legendary U.S. coins. But today, we're focused on the 1944 no-mint mark penny, especially the standard bronze version that most people might find in old jars, collections, or inherited coin rolls. So why is the regular 1944 no-mint mark penny valuable at all if millions were made? The answer lies in condition, history, and collector demand. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 1.4 billion pennies in 1944. That sounds like an enormous number, and it is. But most of those coins circulated heavily. They were used in everyday transactions, tossed into drawers, scraped across countertops, and worn down over time. Finding one today in truly excellent condition is far more difficult than it might seem. Coins are graded based on how well they've been preserved. A heavily worn 1944 penny might be worth just a few cents above face value, but one in extremely fine condition, especially one that still has its original red copper color, can be worth significantly more. In uncirculated condition, meaning it shows no signs of wear and still looks nearly new, a 1944 no-mint mark penny can sell for $20, $50, $100, or more, depending on quality. The very best examples, graded at the highest levels by professional grading services, have sold for several $1,000s. Let's talk real-world examples. High-grade 1944 Philadelphia pennies, graded M, S67 red by major grading companies, have sold at auction for prices ranging from $2,000 to over $6,000. These coins are rare not because they weren't made, but because so few survived in perfect condition. Collectors compete fiercely for the finest known examples, and when two people want the same top-quality coin, prices can climb fast. Then there's the legendary steel version. In 2021, a genuine 1944 steel cent sold for well over $100,000. These coins are considered major rarities, and only a few dozen are believed to exist. If you ever find a 1944 penny that looks silver and sticks to a magnet, it deserves immediate professional authentication, because it could be life-changing. But even beyond the extreme rarities, the standard 1944 no-mint mark penny holds a unique place in American coin history. It represents the return to normalcy after the strange steel cents of 1943. It represents resourcefulness during wartime. And it represents a moment when something as small as a penny carried the story of a nation at war. So how can you tell if your 1944 penny is real and whether it might be valuable? First, look at the date. It should clearly read 1944. Next, look below the date. If there is no mint mark, it was made in Philadelphia. A D means Denver and an S means San Francisco. All three mints made pennies that year, but Philadelphia produced the most. Next, check the color. A normal 1944 penny should be copper-colored, ranging from brown to reddish, depending on how well it's been preserved. If it looks silver or gray, test it with a magnet. A steel penny will stick to a magnet, while a bronze penny will not. However, be careful. Some people plate regular pennies in silver or zinc to make them look unusual. A magnet test alone is not proof of authenticity, but it's a good first step. Also, check the weight. A standard 1944 bronze penny weighs about 3.11 grams. A steel cent weighs about 2.7 grams. If you have access to a digital scale, this can help you narrow things down. But the only way to confirm a rare error coin for sure is through a professional coin grading service. Be cautious of fakes, especially when it comes to the valuable steel versions. Some counterfeiters alter dates on 1943 steel cents to make them look like 1944, or coat regular copper pennies to resemble steel. Under magnification, these altered coins often show tool marks, strange textures, or uneven surfaces around the date. That's why serious collectors always rely on expert authentication. Now let's talk about some surprising and fun facts about the 1944 penny. One of the most fascinating details is that many of these coins were literally made from recycled battlefield brass. The shell casings used by American forces were collected, melted down, and turned into coin blanks. So when Americans held a 1944 penny, they were holding metal that may have once been part of ammunition used in the war effort. Few everyday objects carry such a direct connection to global history. Another fun fact is how quickly the steel cents of 1943 disappeared from circulation once copper pennies returned. People disliked the steel cents so much that many were hoarded or thrown away. When the bronze 1944 pennies arrived, they were welcomed back almost immediately. That makes the 1944 penny a symbol of relief and familiarity during uncertain times. Collectors also love this coin because it's part of a larger story. The Lincoln Cent series is one of the most collected coin series in the world. Many collectors start with wheat pennies, the coins minted from 1909 to 1958, because they're affordable, historical, and widely available. The 1944 penny sits right in the heart of that era and represents a key transitional moment between wartime emergency coinage and the return to traditional metal. For beginners, the 1944 no-mint mark penny is appealing because it's easy to find, affordable in most grades, and rich in history. For advanced collectors, the challenge is finding one in exceptional condition or discovering rare error versions. And for treasure hunters, the dream is always the same: to stumble across one of those rare steel strikes hiding in an old jar of coins. Even beyond steel cents, there are other interesting errors from 1944. Some pennies were struck off-center, with part of the design missing. Others show doubled letters or numbers due to die errors. Some were struck on improperly prepared blanks, creating unusual shapes or thicknesses. While most of these errors are not worth thousands, many can sell for $50, $100, or more, depending on how dramatic they are. So what should you do if you find a 1944 penny? First, don't clean it. Cleaning a coin can reduce its value significantly, even if it looks better afterward. Collectors prefer original surfaces, even if they're dark or toned. Second, store it safely in a coin flip or holder to protect it from further damage. Third, if it looks unusual, especially if it's silver-colored or in very high condition, consider having it examined by a reputable coin dealer or grading service. Collectors today love the 1944 no-mint mark penny, not just because of what it's worth, but because of what it represents. It's a coin that tells a story of adaptation, resilience, and everyday life during one of the most challenging periods in American history. It reminds us that even small objects can carry powerful stories. A penny that once passed through the hands of factory workers, soldiers' families, shopkeepers, and children buying candy now sits in collections as a quiet witness to the past. There's something special about holding a coin that's nearly 80 years old and knowing it once circulated when World War II headlines filled newspapers, when ration books were common, and when victory bonds were sold on street corners. The 1944 penny doesn't just represent money, it represents a moment in time. And here's the most exciting part. Even today, valuable coins are still being discovered in ordinary places. Old coffee cans, forgotten dresser drawers, inherited collections, estate sales, coin rolls from banks. People continue to find rare varieties and high-grade examples because millions of coins were saved and forgotten over the decades. That means the next important 1944 penny could still be out there, waiting quietly in someone's pocket change or attic box. So the next time you see a 1944 penny, take a second look. Check the color, check the date, check the condition. That small copper coin might be nothing more than a few cents in value, or it might be a piece of American history worth far more than you ever imagined. The 1944 no-mint mark Lincoln penny reminds us that some of the most valuable treasures aren't hidden in vaults or museums. They're hidden in plain sight, disguised as everyday objects we barely notice. And sometimes, all it takes is curiosity to turn something ordinary into something extraordinary. So keep your eyes open, keep your coins, and who knows, the next time you reach into your change jar, you might just uncover a story that's been waiting nearly a century to be told. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that was minted over half a century ago. A coin that quietly survived decades tucked away in pockets, jars, and drawers, yet today could be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. This isn't just any penny. This is the 1964 D-Mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin that has captured the fascination of collectors across America for generations. What makes this ordinary-looking copper disc so extraordinary? The answer lies in its history, its subtle features, and the story of a nation transitioning through a pivotal year. The 1964 D. Lincoln penny is part of the long-running series of 1-cent coins featuring the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln. Designed by Victor David Brenner and first released in 1909 to honor the centennial of Lincoln's birth, this coin has become a staple of American currency. By 1964, the penny had been circulating for over 5 decades, yet each year brought its own small variations and details that would intrigue collectors. The D mint mark indicates that this particular coin was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the United States' major coin production facilities. 1964 was a year of transition for the United States, both culturally and economically. It was the year the Civil Rights Act was signed into law, Lyndon B. Johnson was president, and the country was entering a period of profound change. In the world of coins, 1964 marked one of the final years. The Lincoln cent was made primarily from 95% copper and 5% zinc, a composition that would change just a few years later. This makes the 1964 D penny one of the last of its kind, carrying with it the feel and look of traditional copper pennies that many Americans remember from their childhood. One of the most distinctive features of the 1964 D penny is its composition and color. Unlike the modern zinc-based pennies, this coin has a warm, reddish tone and a noticeable weight when held. Its obverse, or front, shows the dignified profile of Abraham Lincoln facing right, with the word Liberty etched to his left in the year 1964, accompanied by the small D mint mark on his right. The reverse features the familiar wheat ears design, a symbol of prosperity and growth, framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. While the design itself may seem simple, subtle differences in strike quality, die wear, or even slight errors can make a huge difference in value for collectors. Some 1964 D pennies have tiny die cracks or doubled dies, imperfections that are rare but highly sought after in the numismatic world. So why is this penny considered rare and valuable? The 1964 D Lincoln penny was minted in large numbers, but what makes individual coins desirable is their condition, rarity of errors, and historical significance. Coins that have been preserved in uncirculated condition or exhibit unusual characteristics can command prices far above their face value. Even though millions of these pennies exist, finding one in pristine condition with sharp details and no wear is increasingly difficult. The 1964 D penny is also part of a generation of coins that represents the last wave of high copper Lincoln cents, giving it a nostalgic appeal that modern coins simply cannot match. Collectors and auction houses have demonstrated the value of these coins in real-world examples. A 1964 D Lincoln penny in mint state condition can sell for hundreds of dollars, depending on the grade. Coins with verified errors or exceptional quality can reach prices in the thousands. For instance, a well-preserved 1964 D doubled die penny recently sold at a major auction for over $1,200. These sales highlight how even a small piece of metal, overlooked for decades, can suddenly become a prized treasure when the right eyes recognize its significance. Identifying a genuine 1964 D penny is crucial, especially with counterfeit coins occasionally appearing in the market. Authentic coins should have a small, clear D under the year, consistent weight, and proper copper coloration. The lettering should be sharp, and the wheat ears on the reverse should show clear details. Counterfeit or altered coins often have inconsistencies in size, color, or the placement of the mint mark. Using a magnifying glass to examine fine details or consulting a certified numismatic guide can help collectors ensure their coin is authentic. Beyond value, the 1964 D penny holds many surprising details that can delight even casual observers. Some coins from this year were accidentally struck on worn dies, creating subtle differences in the shape of Lincoln's features or the wheat stalks. Others show faint doubling in the numbers of the year, an imperfection that is nearly invisible to the naked eye but can add hundreds of dollars to a coin's worth. It's fascinating to consider that each penny has its own unique story, shaped by the precise conditions of the minting process over half a century ago. Collectors love the 1964 D Lincoln penny for its blend of history, artistry, and nostalgia. Holding one connects you to a specific moment in American history, a tangible piece of 1964 that survived the decades. It appeals to seasoned numismatists who prize rare finds, as well as newcomers who enjoy hunting for hidden treasures in old jars, pocket change, and estate sales. The coin is also a reminder of a simpler time when copper pennies were a part of everyday life, yet they still hold the potential to transform a collection, or even a collector's fortune, if discovered in remarkable condition. In the end, the 1964 D. Lincoln penny is more than just a coin. It's a piece of history, a symbol of craftsmanship, and a bridge to the past. Whether you are a serious collector, a history enthusiast, or simply someone curious about hidden treasures in your own pocket change, this penny invites exploration. Imagine opening an old coin album or finding a faded jar of pennies in your attic, and among them, discovering a 1964 D. Lincoln cent in brilliant condition. That moment when history meets opportunity is exactly why collectors continue to seek out this coin. So next time you handle an old penny, take a moment to look closely. Notice the warm copper glow, the subtle lines of Lincoln's profile, and the tiny mint mark that tells you it came from Denver. You might be holding more than a simple coin. You could be holding a piece of history, a rare artifact, and a potential treasure that has quietly traveled through time, waiting for someone to appreciate its story. And who knows? The 1964 D. Lincoln penny you overlook today could be the rare gem that changes everything tomorrow. Imagine holding a coin so ordinary, yet so overlooked, that most people walk past it without a second thought. But what if I told you that in the right hands, this simple penny could quietly hold the power to surprise you, even change the way you look at everyday money? Today, we're diving deep into one of the United States' most fascinating modern coins, the 1997 D. Lincoln penny. On the surface, it may look like just another copper-colored coin, but for collectors and enthusiasts, it carries a story full of intrigue, subtle errors, and unexpected value. The 1997 D. Lincoln penny is part of the long-running series of Lincoln cents, first introduced in 1909 to honor America's 16th president, Abraham Lincoln. The D mint mark, located just below the date, tells us this coin was struck at the Denver Mint. While millions of these pennies were produced, certain features and anomalies make some of them particularly sought after today. To understand why the 1997 D penny is so interesting, we need to take a quick journey back to the late 1990s. At this time, the United States Mint was still producing pennies primarily for everyday circulation. Copper-plated zinc had been used since 1982, and the Lincoln cent had settled into its familiar design. Lincoln's profile on the front, the Lincoln Memorial on the back, and the year of minting and mint mark carefully engraved. The 1997 series continued this tradition, blending history with meticulous minting practices that, even decades later, attract collectors' attention. What makes the 1997 D. Lincoln penny more than just a coin in your pocket is the subtle details in its design and composition. Measuring 19 millimeters in diameter and weighing just under 3 grams, this coin is composed of 97.5% zinc with a thin copper coating, giving it that classic penny hue. On the obverse, Lincoln's profile is crisp and well-defined, showing the care that went into each minting. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial is finely detailed, with tiny inscriptions that many casual holders never notice. For collectors, these small details are crucial because they can help distinguish a standard circulation coin from a rarer variant or error. Speaking of errors, the 1997 D penny has a few quirks that have captured collectors' imaginations. While there are no major double-die examples widely reported for this year, some coins exhibit minor die cracks, doubled lettering, or weak strikes, often caused by wear in the minting equipment or slight misalignments during production. These imperfections, while subtle, make certain coins stand out from the millions of identical pennies that were made. And in the world of coin collecting, even a small anomaly can increase a coin's appeal and value. So why might someone consider the 1997 D Lincoln penny valuable today? Part of it is scarcity and high-grade condition. While billions of these pennies were minted, few survive in perfect, uncirculated state. Collectors are willing to pay a premium for coins that have retained their original luster, sharp details, and flawless edges. The value is not just in the metal, which is minimal, but in the coin's condition, its history, and the story it represents as a snapshot of American currency in the late 20th century. Real-world examples of 1990-70 pennies selling at premium prices can help illustrate this. A typical circulated 1990-70 penny might be worth only a few cents. However, an uncirculated example, graded M-SMINIS 65 or higher by professional grading services, can fetch between $10 to $20, sometimes more if it shows a unique minting anomaly. Coins with minor die errors, such as doubled letters on the date or mint mark, have sold at small auctions for slightly higher amounts, catching the eyes of collectors who specialize in modern Lincoln cents. While these figures may not reach the astronomical prices of older rarities from the early 1900s, they represent a fascinating intersection of accessibility and collectible appeal. Identifying a genuine 1990-70 Lincoln penny is straightforward but requires attention to detail. The first step is to look at the mint mark. The D should be clean, well-defined, and consistent with the date's style. Next, examine the edges and surface for signs of wear, corrosion, or cleaning. Genuine uncirculated coins will have a natural luster and sharp features, while fakes or altered coins often appear too shiny, uneven, or artificially polished. Finally, subtle die characteristics, like faint lines near the lettering or small variations in Lincoln's profile, can help distinguish coins of interest to serious collectors from ordinary circulation pennies. Beyond the technical details, there are some fun and surprising facts about this coin that make it more than just spare change. The Lincoln penny itself holds the distinction of being the longest-running series in U.S. coinage, celebrating over a century of history by 1997. Abraham Lincoln remains the only president to appear on a circulating U.S. coin, while also being honored for his role in shaping the nation's values. For many collectors, owning a 1990-70 penny is like holding a piece of that enduring legacy. Even the choice of Denver as the mint location adds a subtle layer of historical significance, reflecting the spread of minting operations across the country to meet the nation's demand for currency. Collectors today are drawn to the 1990-70 Lincoln penny for both emotional and practical reasons. It represents a bridge between history and modern collecting, a coin that is familiar yet still capable of surprising you with its hidden quirks. Many enjoy the challenge of spotting minor errors or securing coins in pristine condition, turning what might seem like an everyday object into a pursuit of discovery and value. The 1990-70 penny offers an accessible entry point for new collectors, while still providing depth for those who appreciate the finer details of coinage and minting history. As we look back at this humble coin, it's easy to overlook its potential. Millions of people handle pennies every day without thinking twice. But for those who look closer, who examine the small letters, the subtle differences in minting, and the almost imperceptible signs of wear or error, a single 1990-70 Lincoln penny can transform from a mere coin into a collectible treasure. It reminds us that value isn't always obvious, and sometimes the most ordinary objects can hide extraordinary stories. So next time you reach into your pocket or dig through a jar of change, take a moment to inspect your pennies. Among them, there could be a 1990-70 Lincoln cent waiting to reveal its story, its subtle errors, and its quiet appeal to collectors around the country. You might be surprised at what an everyday coin can teach you about history, craftsmanship, and the surprising ways value can appear where you least expect it. The 1990-70 Lincoln penny is more than copper and zinc. It's a small, tangible connection to the past, a modern collectible with a story that continues to unfold with every coin discovered. And who knows? The next one you hold could be the coin that sparks your own journey into the fascinating world of U.S. coins. Have you ever held a coin in your hand and wondered if it could be worth more than just a few cents? Today, we're diving into one of the most intriguing pieces of American coin history, the 1976 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny. At first glance, it might look like just another copper coin from the 1970s, but for collectors, it holds secrets that can turn an ordinary penny into a prized treasure. The 1976 D Lincoln penny is part of the long-running series honoring Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. First introduced in 1909 to mark Lincoln's 100th birthday, the Lincoln cent has become one of the most recognized coins in American history. By the 1970s, the penny had seen many changes in design and composition, but it remained a small, everyday object that carried historical weight. The D mint mark tells us it was produced at the Denver Mint, one of the two primary mints making pennies at the time, the other being Philadelphia. 1976 was a special year for the United States. It marked the bicentennial of American independence, and many coins from this year were struck to commemorate the nation's 200th birthday. While the Lincoln penny did not receive a completely new design for the bicentennial, like the quarter or the half-dollar did, it existed during a period of heightened collector interest. The year itself created a sense of anticipation, and coins minted during this time were carefully examined by enthusiasts. The 1976 D Lincoln penny is made primarily of copper, with a small percentage of zinc. Its obverse features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, a design created by Victor David Brenner over 60 years prior. Lincoln's face is solemn but familiar, a symbol of honesty and perseverance. On the reverse, you'll find the traditional wheat ears design, though this style was nearing the end of its run. By 1959, the wheat reverse had been introduced to celebrate Lincoln's 150th birthday, and it remained in use until 1982. What makes the 1976 D penny stand out isn't just its design, it's the subtle details and errors that sometimes appear. Some coins from this year show minor variations in strike, small doubling of letters, or unusual die cracks. These imperfections are not flaws in the sense of being damaged. Instead, they are unique markers that can make a penny more interesting to collectors. Even small differences in color, patina, or surface quality can make a difference when assessing value. So why is this particular penny considered rare or valuable? Unlike some coins that are rare because only a few were minted, the 1976 D Lincoln penny had millions produced. Its value comes from condition and collectability. Most pennies from this period were spent and show wear, but the few that have survived in mint state, meaning uncirculated and nearly flawless, can fetch surprisingly high prices. A penny that looks ordinary in your pocket could, in fact, be a gem in the eyes of a collector if it has been preserved carefully. Real-world examples show the potential. At coin auctions, uncirculated 1976 D Lincoln pennies in top condition have sold for hundreds of dollars. For instance, a grading service may identify a coin as M/65, indicating exceptional quality, and it could reach $250 or more. If the coin has a notable error or perfect strike, the price can climb even higher. While these pennies aren't generally worth millions, the right coin in the right condition can make a significant difference, especially for serious collectors building a set of Lincoln cents. Identifying a genuine 1976 D penny requires careful observation. Start by checking the mint mark. The D should be clear and well-formed, located just below the date on the obverse. Examine the surface under bright light for scratches, discoloration, or unusual marks. True uncirculated coins will have sharp details in Lincoln's hair and the wheat ears on the reverse. If the letters or numbers look soft, off-center, or artificially enhanced, the coin may not be authentic or may have been altered. Comparing your coin to images from reputable grading services is a helpful step. Collectors often use magnifying glasses or digital microscopes to inspect subtle details, ensuring authenticity before investing. Beyond its market value, the 1976 Lincoln penny carries fascinating stories and surprising details. For example, while it doesn't have the flashy bicentennial designs of other coins, it existed alongside them, giving it historical context. During the bicentennial year, families often collected coins as souvenirs, and some pennies were set aside as keepsakes. Over time, these coins became reminders of a unique moment in American history, adding emotional and historical value beyond their monetary worth. Another interesting aspect is the longevity of the Lincoln cent series. While other coins have been redesigned or retired, the Lincoln penny continues to circulate to this day, making a coin from 1976 a connection to more than 4 decades of American history. Owning one is like holding a small piece of the past, a tangible link to the streets, pockets, and coin jars of 1970s America. Collectors love the 1976 Lincoln penny not just for its potential financial value, but for the thrill of discovery. Finding a coin in exceptional condition can feel like uncovering a hidden artifact. The subtle differences in color, weight, or detail create a puzzle that enthusiasts enjoy solving. For many, building a complete Lincoln cent collection is a lifelong journey, and the 1976 is an essential piece of that story. Its connection to the bicentennial year adds extra charm, making it a favorite among both seasoned and new collectors. So, what makes this penny truly special is a mix of history, scarcity, and story. It is ordinary enough to be familiar, yet extraordinary enough to spark curiosity and excitement. Next time you come across a small copper coin, take a closer look. What seems like a simple penny could hold the key to history, a link to a national celebration, or even a hidden treasure in uncirculated condition. The 1976 Lincoln penny is a reminder that sometimes the smallest objects carry the biggest stories. Even if you don't collect coins, this penny encourages us to pay attention to the little things. Each mark, each shine, each detail tells a story about the people who made it, used it, and saved it. In a world of instant digital transactions, holding a coin minted over 40 years ago connects us to a different pace of life, where history was tangible in our hands. The 1976 Lincoln penny may not make headlines in everyday news, but in the world of coin collecting, it continues to captivate, inspire, and intrigue. Whether you're an experienced collector or just curious, examining this penny invites you into a story that spans decades, blending history, craftsmanship, and the quiet thrill of discovery. So the next time you reach into a jar of old coins, pause for a moment. Could one of them be a 1976 Lincoln penny, quietly holding a piece of American history? A coin that connects you to the past, excites the collector within, and reminds us all that even the smallest objects can carry extraordinary stories. What other hidden treasures might be waiting in your own collection? The answer could be closer than you think.